Hello, this is Richard from PAS. This video is about completing the resource column in your workbook. We've already covered how to process your data for the quantity column and where the hourly rate comes from in 2 other videos. Getting those bits right is important, so make sure you have a look at those and ask any questions you have in the discussion forum on the PAS website. We'll start with fixed fees and cover the basics of how it works. We've got 520 here as the frequency of P160s. So let's say for now it takes 6 hours to do a single application. This number is multiplied out by your hourly rate to give your fee. 6 times 50 is just under 300 quid. It's then multiplied out by the quantity to give you an annual projection for your fees and for your resources. For the most part, it's as simple as that. But make sure that your price list matches your assumption of what is A and B types of work. For example, in 1300, for the heritage applications, we have quantities. It might be tempting to say this one might take you 7 hours. But what we're doing here is we're forecasting income and resources for something that doesn't match, so that anything that is a B type of application has 0 resources against it. This is a national fee schedule, so you'll also notice that some sections might not be relevant to you. If you're a district, you shouldn't be putting anything into the minerals and waste sections, for example. There are other applications that you might not think that you need, but you should still have a price for. For example, here we're looking at wind turbines. It might be from these figures that you're not expecting any applications for wind turbines in your area, but you would still need to have a price. You'd still need to estimate your resources so that it appears on your website. You'll notice that the 0 quantity means that it doesn't multiply out to give any fees per year or any resources. So that's fixed fees. Let's move on to the sliding scale fees now. Take this first one, a P100, creation of 1 to 9 residential units. There are actually 9 sorts of application within this band. Anything from an application for 1, 2, 3, or whatever number of units. The number that you're putting into this cell represents not the midpoint, not the bottom, but the top of the range. This is an estimate of how long it takes you to determine a 9-unit scheme. And if we just read across that top line for now, 50 hours times £50 an hour gives a base fee of £276 for 1 unit, and each subsequent unit is also £276. This average size is right for us. We know that that's the average size of an application, giving us a projected income of £72,000 and a certain amount of resources. That's how it works across a single line. But what happens working down and the relationship as the bands go up? The spreadsheet was shipped to you with some assumptions about what an economy of scale might mean for planning applications. This cell has got a formula in it, and what it does is it takes 25% off the cost of the previous banding. That's why a price per unit here is 276, and it gradually goes down as application sizes get bigger. That means that for a P130, the base price for 200 units is £31,000, but each subsequent one is £107 compared to 276 in that initial band. These are just formulae, and you can change the assumptions behind them either by editing them directly or by just deleting them and putting in a number of hours directly. I have noticed when carrying out some work with authorities that these assumptions up here tend to be okay. It's these ones down here are not aggressive enough. So in this one, for example, I've changed that economy of scale to 50% just to prevent the top fees becoming inordinately large. We split the spreadsheet between fixed and sliding scale fees because the maths is fundamentally different. But you might find it easier when you're working through setting fees to actually go through in the same order as the fee summary page, which groups all types of development together. For example, here at the top, these are the sliding scale fees, and these are the fixed. rather than flip-flopping between them. Okay, so you understand how the maths works, but how do you find out what the right numbers for you are? There are a number of strategies that I've been using as I've been working with people on this. I'd start by talking to your team leaders. To make it easier for you to pick their brains, don't talk to them about P codes because they won't recognise these new forms of development. Talk to them about applications that they've already seen. For example, we're here wondering about a P110. What you can do is to draw up P110s from your existing back office report. That will allow them to come to a reasoned judgment about the resources required. You also need to talk to more than one sort of person. Even the best team leader will have a blind spot about some of the validation processes, or what happens after the decision is finally printed. Talk to validators. Triangulate what one says against the other. You can also compare how your teams are set up to what your fee summary tells you about where the resources go. For example, if you have a householder team dealing with fast tracks, you can compare the amount of resources in this part of the fee schedule to how many bums are on seats. You can also use your fee summary on sheet 5.3 to see how resources are applied section by section or overall at the bottom. Remember that your fee schedule is not the whole story. You'll need to have a conversation within your authority about ensuring that sufficient resources are in place to do the work you need to do, whether it's work that costs the council or attracts income. It's also worth thinking about the really rare applications you might get and what your threshold will be for PPA-type negotiated fees. This is new for all of us. Don't get hung up. Submit your work into the benchmark and we can learn from each other. That's it for this podcast. Thanks for watching. Please post any feedback and questions on this video to the benchmarking forum on the PAS website. And don't forget, there are 2 other videos covering the quantities and calculating your hourly rate.